All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Tufts versus UNC. As we get ready to take a look at the draft. So far we do see the Poppy ban, which is definitely a very powerful flex pick. Can go into jungle support or top. So that's going to be the first ban from UNC. Let's see what these teams have to offer. Hecarim is an interesting one. That might be one of the UNC players' pocket picks, as well as the Akshan. So definitely one standard ban so far, and two I think more flavor pocket pick bans. So far the Thresh ban is also pretty interesting. Um, we do see a lot of supports more or less being taken off the Rift. And we'll have to see what UNC ends up first picking. As we head into this first pick phase. Kai'Sa would make a lot of sense. It's a relatively safe pick, and can really work with any kind of comp, especially because of Kai'Sa's build diversity, where you can go AP, AD, just whatever the team needs. So I think that's a pretty solid first pick. Um, Senna is interesting. Senna right now, AD Senna is not particularly strong. There is a variant with Black Cleaver that's probably playable, but yeah, I mean Blitzcrank looks really good here for UNC into Nautilus works as well. Kai'Sa Nautilus is a very traditional 2v2, and also it's going to be very strong into the immobile Senna and Jhin, right? So that should be a very easy way to set up picks. Um, we'll see if that ends up getting locked in, but it should be, yeah. I expect jungle on 3. I'm not entirely sure what UNC's jungler likes to play, but the Hecarim is taken off the table, so we'll see if it's something like Fi or something along those lines. It is going to be the Jarvan. Jarvan right now is relatively strong. Um, did get buffed recently, but I don't think that buff was particularly impactful. But the Jarvan will be able to make a lot of these plays early, set up with Nautilus, and into that mid game they will be able to roam around and look for these kinds of plays, especially onto the mobile Senejin. And the other thing is Jarvan ulti is very good into that bot lane because there's nothing that Tusk can do to get out of that. And I think that's also probably what they were hoping with that Thresh pick, because then there's no Lantern to get an immobile Jhin out of Jarvan ulti without using Flash. Swain is definitely really interesting. I assume that's going to end up going mid, but I suppose it could also go top. Um, that's going to be a relatively tanky pick. Give some frontline. We'll have a lot of damage and a lot of utility with the Rylai's. Um, yeah, Silas is an interesting ban here because I think that would end up doing pretty well into this Swain. Um, we also see the Aatrox ban, which means that I think UNC also agrees with me that Swain is probably going to go mid, but it could also be a flex top, so that's always a possibility. Yeah, just pretty standard top lane bans. I don't really think um, there's anything too out of the ordinary here. Um, I imagine Tufts is going to want to save the last pick for top lane counter pick. So I imagine they're probably going to pick jungle on 4. Something like the Vi could be good into Kai'Sa so that you can just get that point and click CC lockdown. Um, but it could really be anything here. They have a pretty even split. If they go just to go top lane tank, something like Kasante or like Sion, could also make a lot of sense. It is going to be the jungler lock-in with the Xin Zhao. So that's definitely going to be someone who I think both teams are really going to want to make a lot of plays in the early game. Xin Zhao really able to win those early game 1v1s. Really likes to skirmish. And I think will be a pretty powerful pick. I think Galio would make a lot of sense here. Syndra, I think, is okay as well. Syndra into, once again, Senna Jhin can really threaten a lot of these like 100 to 0 one shots. I think Galio would have been very, very good into the Swain. Um, but I guess it can still be picked, but that would be top lane. And given that Tufts doesn't still has counter pick, I don't imagine something like that's gonna happen. It'll probably be, I mean, it could be Rumble. Gangplank is probably fine as well. We'll see what Tufts ends up wanting to pick into this Gangplank. They do have basically their pick of the litter. A lot of these common top lane bruisers have been banned, but I mean, it's whatever. Would work. It's going to be the Ornn. I think that makes a lot of sense. Tufts is really lacking a little bit of that hard front line. Swain and Xin Zhao are tanky, but not full tank champions. I think the Ornn makes a lot of sense. Um, is going to be very, very good into Syndra and Kaisa, none of whom can really shred tanks. BP is also really looking to attack that backline. So I think UNC is really lacking a little bit of that threat onto this Ornn. And so if this Ornn can get scaling, give everybody free money, it's going to be pretty good for Tufts. I think they have really, really good scaling here. The Xin Zhao is just there to help them survive the early game. And then Senna, I mean, even Jin to some extent, and once Swain gets online as well towards the mid game, and then obviously once they reach the late game, Ornn can just give everybody money, and that'll be pretty big, I think. On the UNC side, I think they're looking kind of for that single target X, right? Dive. They want to Syndra stun the back line, and then Kaisa can dive in, Nautilus can press R, Jarvan can go in. They have a very like just um dive engage heavy comp. And we'll see if it, and it's really just going to be on UNC to really find those picks. If they can, take out the bot lane of Tufts early in a fight, that makes their lives a lot easier. Um, but they do have the Ornn to really block a lot of that, soak a lot of damage, block a lot of that engage. So we'll see if UNC is able to find any of that advantage. Um, yeah, it'll be great to see what these teams can pull off as we head into a short break to wait out the stream delay. Alright everybody, welcome back to Tufts versus UNC as we load out onto the Rift for Game 1. It's going to be a standard 5-point for either team, it looks like. I don't imagine either team really wants to invade. They don't have really any tools with the level 1 Jarvan and the Senna support, so it's just going to be 5-point. People getting some wards a little bit across the map, but should not be anything too interesting. We do see the Gangplank sitting in that firstmost bush, probably hoping to get an early trade with the grass, with the trial by fire, and with the parlay. Is going to be pretty spooky for the Ornn, but that should just be a little bit of damage in the early game as if the Ornn walks up to it. Aside from that, it looks like topside starts for either team. I don't know if that's going to stay that way, but I think that would make a lot of sense for both sides, honestly, because the Ornn is going to be a very uninteractive lane, and with the Kai'Sa Nautilus, you definitely want to play around that, and obviously Tufts wants to defend against that as well. We do also see a similar strategy happening in the bot side with the UNC bot lane walking into that middle brush, which is something to keep an eye out for, but so far Tufts is doing a pretty good job staying behind minions. Senna is looking a little bit hookable, but it doesn't look like anything is actually going to happen on that front. As Kai'Sa walks out of the bush, I imagine they know where Nautilus is as well. Yeah, I mean, so far it's just trading back and forth. I think a lot of the impetus is really going to be on this Jarvan to make some early plays. Spot lane gets level 2 early, so they are going to have to back off a bit. But I'm going to be looking at this Jarvan to make some early plays to see if there will be any action in this early game. If the Jarvan is not, if the Jarvan is still 0-0 and 0 by the time we enter the mid game, I think it'll be a big advantage for Tufts, but we will have to see if there's going to be any. Ooh, a nice auto from the Tufts top laner to top that Gangplank barrel, but it is still going to be a pretty rough lane. Gangplank early can be very much of a lane bully, especially with that 3 damage passive, which is pretty big, but as always the Ornn has their own sources of damage with the kills, so it's just more trading back and forth in this top lane. I don't imagine there's going to be any threat onto either team. We do actually see the Ornn already ahead a bit in CS, despite the fact that there's a big wave pushing in. So that's actually going to be a pretty big advantage when it comes to Ornn. Going in a little bit, actually. Just for a little bit of extra trading, but it should just be more farming on the top side. Just junglers meeting each other in that river. The mid laner of UNC did have Plyo, so they're able. The Jarvan is able to force the Sinjao off of the crab and should be able to pick that up. Jarvan farming a little bit faster actually. Sinjao had to skip wolves in order to try and make it to the scuttle crab on time. He still couldn't make it, so they ended up having to go to that topside crab and abandon their wolves, which is actually going to be a pretty significant advantage. Jarvan walking up, but that scuttle crab is long gone. Sinjao actually, as we say this, walking up top lane, and that Gangplank is very low. The brittle just barely fades off as the Ornn walks up, and there isn't actually going to be a kill going through.
I'll get you.
This was what to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just more trading on the bot side. We do see the UNC coming to a small advantage in the bot side, as expected with this Kai'Sa Nautilus lane. You can get a lot of pie on this early game. Tufts are down about 10 CS. Just going to be considerable. That's going to amount to about a 200 gold lead as well, so that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. But this Ornn is actually winning the top lane matchup, which I think is quite big. Because I would expect Gangplank to really pull ahead in the gold and in the CS, especially with that passive or the Q passive that just makes him money. But Ornn is just farming up a storm here, and is off to a pretty good start. I mean, Tufts slightly behind in gold, but I think that's to be expected with their lanes. And mid lane also is doing quite well in terms of CS, although they are down slightly in gold. Yeah, I mean, in this mid lane, Swain should be able to get a push now since Syndra's out of mana. I don't think there's going to be really any threat now. Just, I think the thing that we're going to be looking for is that first Void Grub spawn. We do see Tufts bot lane going back bot, so it doesn't seem like there's going to be a big fight around these Void Grubs, but it is something that may happen. Generally, we will see teams rotating their bot lanes up to contest these Void Grubs, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen for either team. Both mid laners just TPing back to lane with a lost chapter. So overall things very, very even. Yeah, gold difference is basically 0. So it's actually going to be a little bit of a contest around this Mountain Dragon. The hook goes wide though, so it's going to be pretty hard. I mean, the Syndra is going in actually. Wow, almost a solo kill on this top lane, but the flash away means that the Gangplank gets to survive, and First Blood goes over to the side of UNC as they're able to pick up the the Xin Zhao. Which is very interesting. I really didn't expect the jungler to go in there, maybe looking for a steal of some kind, but it didn't seem like, I mean, it was a 1v3 situation, and I didn't really expect that they would be able to have any threat on this. Wow! Okay, it's gonna be a solo kill on this top side, in favor of this Ornn. Flash invested, wow, more combat in the mid lane. The Syndra just barely able to get away with the flash. Ulti burned for both the Jarvan and the Syndra, and both mid lane flashes burned. That's a pretty big win for the side of UNC, since Syndra's able to pick up this wave. It's combat 24/7, more combat as the Nautilus is forced to flash away. I mean, the Jhin should be able to pick up another kill here, as the not quite able to find it actually, as the Senna and the Kai'Sa are just trading. Flash forward from the Kai'Sa in order to pick up the kill onto the Senna, but it's the Jhin that ends up picking the kill, so it's a 2v2 2-for-1 in favor of Tufts here. And now there's the combat at the Void Grubs, and Xin Zhao is really just able to use this just straight up picks up the kill in the 1v1. And that's enough XP for Xin Zhao to get level 6. So if this Syndra tries to walk up, Xin Zhao definitely wins this. The Wind Becomes Lightning does not quite connect. But that's actually the Gangplank in the attempt to connect, in the attempt to contest, doesn't actually manage to get the kill, ends up giving their life for it, and they lose Void Grubs. Just constant fighting across the map. I don't even have time to talk about the implications of any of that. Tufts should be able to pick up the Void Grubs here, should be relatively straightforward, but it's advantage for Tufts in the top side, and advantage for Tufts in the bot side. The mid lane play is also quite good, as the Swain picks up a Darksteel actually after dying. And now they have 2 stacks on this Darksteel, grabs a kill, and overall Tufts is looking very, very good here, despite the kill score being almost even. I mean, we can see the Jhin now with the Swiftness boots and the Serrated Dirk able to push in this Kai'Sa bit. More fighting in the mid lane as the ulti is popped from the Swain. I mean, this Swain ulti lasts forever as long as there's someone in it, and it is the Nautilus who's going to end up falling in the 1v2 for the most part. The Senna comes in a bit at the end in order to grab some of that help, but I mean, once again, this Ornn is just hard winning this top lane. Doesn't quite get the QE timing right, but that ulti should just straight up pick up a kill. Does not quite get it, and there it is. Ultimate invested once again from both top laners, as this Jarvan is now looking to try and get something done. The Ornn does manage to get the knockup, breaks out of the Cataclysm, and Jarvan not quite able to grab the kill. Does he have the E cooldown? He does, and is able to finally grab that kill. The Swain W coming out, not going to connect. Jarvan dropped very, very low, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 in the top lane with a wave pushing out towards UNC, which is going to be, once again, another advantage for Tufts, as they build up this 1,000 gold lead. I mean, you can see 700 gold advantage for 700 gold advantage for Tufts in the top lane. The Ornn is going to be very, very tanky once we get to these late game stages, especially given that the Syndra is going to be building magic penetration, as that's basically why Syndra is so strong right now. It's with these the Storm Surge and Shadow Flame buffs to the magic penetration makes those items definitely very, very lucrative. And it's going to be hard for UNC to really break through this Tufts front line, especially once we reach the later stages of these games. GP not quite landing the timing on the barrel, drops it to 1 HP. As once again, the Ornn is just winning these trades straight up. Now back with the Sunfire Cape is going to make this GP's life very, very difficult. A bit more posturing around this Drake that's going to spawn in about 40 seconds. As we see just the junglers trying to place down vision, clear out vision. I think Tufts should be able to have priority here with the advantages that they've accrued. Although the Kai'Sa does come back with Static Shiv, which is going to be something that I think is relevant. Oh wow, just straight up a kill onto the Syndra. I would imagine just the Never move landed and Syndra just couldn't do much anymore. I mean, this Swain has a Blackfire Torch already, which is going to be a very, very big deal. And I mean, Jervin needs to get out of here. There's no way that they can contest this dragon anymore with Syndra dead, Swain walking down. I think it would be a big mistake if UNC tries to contest this, drops the flag, but is not going to end up dragging in. So Tufts will end up picking up the second Cloud Drake. It'll be good to see what the soul is. I think we're hoping Hextech definitely for either team. Jarvan ends up going into the backside. Is he able to get the Drake? He actually is. He gets the Drake at the cost of his life. I'm not entirely sure if that's worth it. For the Ocean Soul, it definitely helps. But given that I don't think the fights get any easier for UNC going forwards, giving more advantages over to Tufts is definitely not what you want to see. I mean, yeah, we do see 3-1 in favor. I mean, Senna walking up so aggressively. Nautilus does press the R button. Senna, I mean, Kai'Sa does have the ulti here, so should be able to go in if she so desires. But I mean, the fight is looking very, very UNC favored so far. But the Xin goes in, should be able to grab the kill onto Kai'Sa. TP in for Gangplank, no, Syndra should be able to grab that kill as well with the global assistance from the DP. But a lot invested here for. Ooh, that's a big kill. Shutdown going over to Syndra. Swain walking down. This is a 1v2 now. Pops the ulti. Is he actually able to get anything done? The Never move does land onto the Nautilus. That should be a kill going over. Flashes forward for the reactivation. And the Never move lands once again. I really didn't think that would. And that's going to be a 1v2 double kill for the Swain. I mean, this Swain is going to be so fed now. Blackfire Torch completed. 10 stacks on the Dark Seal. And like, even though it looked good for UNC at the start, I mean, Swain walking down, getting those 2 kills matters a lot. And I mean, the Ornn just continuing to win in isolation in this top lane matchup. I'm really interested to see what the Swain buys on the back. It's going to be a giant spell. Not entirely sure what it's building towards. It could be some kind of tankier item. As Jervin managed to grab the 3 of the Void Grubs, but is actually locked down by this Ornn on the backside. And I mean, that's going to be just another kill going over. I don't think they should be able to kill Gangplank here. Flashes out, gets under tower, should be able to make it out, but I mean, it's 4 Void Grubs for UNC, but I really don't foresee them being able to put too much more pressure onto these outer towers. I think Kai'Sa is definitely their best chance at making a comeback right now. Has the Static Shiv working towards what looks like a Blade of the Ruined King or Ginsu's. I'm not entirely sure. Should be a Ginsu's. Whereas the Jin isn't even quite at the Collector completion yet. So that is going to be the one like light at the end of the tunnel for UNC, but I mean, that is really what they're hoping for right now, is a miracle. Yeah, we do see the Kai'Sa 500 gold ahead, but it's almost a 1,000 gold lead, 800 gold in the mid lane, 600 gold in the jungle, another 300 gold in the top lane. I mean, Tufts is really looking very, very good right now. Yeah, I mean, the Blackfire Torch is doing a lot of work here. And, I mean, now that the Swain has an extra however much health from the Giant's Belt and from the passive, it's going to be very hard to force them out of lane. As Tufts just starts up the Rift Herald, should be able to grab it relatively easily, should not have any problems here. Syndra walking up as if they can contest, but I really don't think it's going to happen. Syndra does try and take it, but I mean, it's not going to happen. It's, once again, just trading, Tufts getting free objectives as they continue to snowball this lead. Yeah, the bot lane is struggling just a little bit so far, but I mean, I really don't think that they're going to be able to snowball much more for UNC. Yeah, I mean, every time we go take a look at this top lane, it's as I say that, Jarvan just walking into Tufts' jungle, and that's not allowed at all. 2-man stun for the Syndra, but it's not going to make any difference because it is a 1v4, right? I mean, I don't think Jarvan was ever allowed to be there, so I'm not entirely sure how that happened. I mean, Orange just walking up should be able to just take the tower, does get it, first tower gold, and might just be able to actually grab the kill onto the Gangplank as well. Yep, there it is. That's just another kill. I mean, this is like the second or third solo kill that this Ornn has found onto this Gangplank in a matchup that I really don't think they should be allowed to win. Tufts walking back down, Dragon spawning in 20 seconds as the Swain TP's back with a Rylai's. Yep, that's gonna be really, really big here. I mean, the Swain is almost a full item ahead, 10 stacks on the Dark Seal, 5, 1, and 3, 500 gold bounty on this Swain's head. And I mean, that's not gonna be an easy bounty for UNC to collect because, I mean, Swain is really, really strong now. I mean, 2 item completion. I mean, Kaisa also has it, but those are definitely cheaper items. The Herald gets dropped in the mid lane just for some pressure so that Tufts is able to grab this dragon. Should be able to take it here with no problems. It will be just their first dragon. I don't think dragon is going to be a real win condition for either team here. Once again, Jarvan tries to go in and steal it. Does not end up managing to find it this time. Has to flash out, but yeah, I mean, it's just another dragon going over to the side of Tufts. More advantages being built up. And it's looking pretty bleak for UNC here. I think important to note here is that this Jarvan's actually also building Eclipse first item. So it's not going to be this bruisery, tanky Jarvan that we've been seeing a lot of, but it's going to be a relatively squishy Jarvan, honestly. They're going to do a lot of damage, but I mean, with the threat that there is on Tufts' side, I really don't think that that's going to be the difference maker here. I'm not sure that I love the Eclipse Jarvan here. Is going to grab the Tunneler, so is going to build some more Bruiser second item, but still, I'm not sure that that's the right decision. We do actually see that it is going to be the AP Senna. This is going to be the Enchanter, full Enchanter Senna, with the Grasp instead of the Airy, but we do see the Echoes of Hylia bought first item. That's going to be pretty relevant as well. And the Jin going for Rapid Fire as well, so... I mean, Tufts looking very, very good here. Abyssal Mass slot second. That's going to amplify that Ornn damage even more, actually, as well as this Swain once they get into team fights. So that's going to be a big purchase as well for the Ornn. And, I mean, this Gangplank's life is just going to get harder from here. I really don't foresee it getting better after this. We do see the ulti popped. Flash popped as well from both laners. I mean, flash to follow, I mean, there's not a lot that the Syndra can do. Is just going to straight up get killed in the 1v1. Another solo kill for this Swain is, I mean, is going to be found now. I mean, no ulti on the Swain now, but they're investing 4 members here, while Ornn is just, like, they get the shutdown, and that's really, really good, but Ornn is just free pushing this top lane. It might be able to pick up this inner tower with this Demolish, as the last minion dies. Doesn't actually look like it's going to happen. But, I mean, they're losing waves on the top side in exchange for the Swain kill, and it's really only a 1-for-1. They do manage to pick up the bounty and clear off half of those Dark Seal stacks, but I mean, I hesitate to say that. I mean, they're investing a lot in the side lane, and that is what they have to do, but the Swain is still going to be very, very strong, and this Ornn is going to only become more and more of a problem as the game goes on. Yeah, I mean, it's just a bit more farming. I mean, it's not like any team can really contest this Baron, so we're really just waiting for this Ocean Dragon, second Ocean Dragon that's going to spawn in 2 minutes. As teams are just farming up a storm, trying to collect these waves. And I mean, UNC is really just looking for some kind of Hail Mary here that can put them ahead in this game. Sinjar threatening a gank bot side, but I mean, Sinjar's playing with a lot of respect. Ornn doesn't quite manage to connect onto the wall. Flash forced out from the Nautilus, trying to clear some of that vision, but I mean, there's no prio mid. He doesn't have anybody pushing that wave out, and so it's very, very easy for the Ornn to just collapse onto him. We're reaching a bit of a lull state here. There's not a ton that either team can really do in terms of playmaking. Just a bit of split pushing. I think Tufts, if they really wanted to, could bring down an extra member bot lane to see if they can apply some pressure onto this bot tier too, because I mean, Swain is very, very strong, but if they can take that down another auto tower, grab some of that standing gold, I think that would be a good idea, but I mean, so far it's just trading back and forth. We do see the Jarvan on the top side 30 seconds or 20 seconds before this dragon spawns. Neither team really has too much vision around it, as it does look like UNC is actually going to look for a gank onto this Ornn. They're bringing 3 members here, so I guess they are just giving up the dragon. Ornn flashes out, manages to break the Jarvan cage, but it doesn't look like Ornn should be able to survive here. Yeah, the Kai'Sa comes in, and I mean, this Kai'Sa is going to be very, very strong now. But in exchange, I mean, oh wow, Syndra manages to pick up a kill into the center of the mid lane in exchange for their own life. GP ulti invested to just clear the wave. We'll save that mid lane inner tower. So, I mean, a good series of plays for UNC. Manages to grab a kill top lane. And they're actually just going to try and start the Baron. I mean, there's no vision here for Tufts, right? Like, Tufts doesn't, I don't think Tufts knows what's happening. They're running in. They know it now, but it's 2v4. The Swain is going to be a really, really big problem. I don't know what UNC can do about this. The Never Move lands, and I mean, Swain should just be able to... Ooh, drops very, very low, but isn't actually going to go down, healing up just enough to survive, and the Kai'Sa dies to the burn. I mean, it's a full ace. They aren't able to burst down the Baron fast enough, and as the Syndra responds, that's the only person alive now who can really stop this Tufts Baron play now. And that should actually just be Tufts getting the Baron, and that might be the game in favor of Tufts. I don't know that there's a lot UNC can do about this. Syndra walking forward, but like it's going to take a miracle for Syndra to steal this one. It's not even going to try, and it's just going to give up the Baron in to UNC or to Tufts. I mean, the Swain with the Baron is going to be definitely a pretty terrifying threat when we get to that side lane. Ornn being in mid to grab the wave, and I mean, Swain actually upgrades the Darksteel into a Medjai's. 10 stacks on 10 pages in that book now is going to be a massive, massive threat in these team fights with that big AoE ultimate. And the Rylai's just slowing the hell out of everyone, burning the hell out of everyone. I mean, it's going to be very, very hard for UNC to play these fights. Yeah, I mean, we see the power of this Rylai's, right? Like, the Swain just... Ooh, that TP is really, really dubious. Gets the slow. I mean, Jarvan and Sinjar are fighting now. Does not manage to grab any of the kills. Flashing out is really just going to have to kill this Kai'Sa. Does not actually manage to get her. Might die to the burn. Does die to the burn. I mean, it's going to be a 2v2 on the side lane. But that's 10 pages off of that book. I mean, gets a handful more, but I mean, 6 pages left on the book. it's gonna feel pretty bad for Swain, but I mean, Tufts able to grab this bot lane tier 2, where UNC just has to back. So, I mean, it's more standing gold pick up for Tufts. As we're approaching an almost 7,000 gold lead. I mean, Tufts is in a really commanding spot right now. Swain is 3,000 gold up on the Syndra on the opposing side, and that's a full item, right? And we do see, like, the bot lanes are now relatively even, right? Which was UNC's basically only hope to take back this game was this Kai'Sa, but I mean that they're even now, right? And I mean it's advantages in every lane, right? So it's really, really hard for UNC to play this one out. I mean, because Tufts can just smack them with their wallets, right? Right now, we're just, yeah, I mean, we're just looking for a bit more of a calm gameplay, I would imagine, until this third Ocean Dragon. It'll be soul point for either team, but I do imagine Tufts does have the advantage in collecting it. And speaking of collecting, we do see that Collector upgraded on the Jhin. Interesting that that's actually the first choice for the Masterwork upgrades. The Collector upgraded is going to be really, really big. And the Jhin hits 3 items now, 75% crit chance, and this is where we see Jhin really, really shine, right? Like in the early game, Jhin plays a lot of utility, right? Just with the root, with the slows, all of that. But I mean, once we get to this later portion of the game, as we do see this zoom in, get to observe this Jhin very, very closely. A very, very powerful Jhin with 400, almost 500 AD, 75% crit chance, and I mean, one shot from this Jhin is going to do a ton of damage to anybody that isn't named Jarvan. And since this Jarvan isn't building a ton of armor either, I mean, it's going to do a lot of damage to Jarvan too. Jarvan, speaking of Jarvan, flashing in forward for the Cataclysm and forcing the Senna flash out. But, I mean, Senna's not really the target here, especially when they're playing Enchanter. They do have the Moonstone now, so Tufts is going to be very, very protected in these fights, especially that Ornn with that extra healing coming in. It's going to be very hard to kill the Ornn. Show picked up 3.5 items. That Ornn is going to be a raid boss in these upcoming fights. We do see Tufts is actually lacking quite a bit of vision here, but I mean, Ornn can just face check, and there's not really a lot that anybody on UNC's side can do. I mean, we see the EQ going through onto this Ornn doing barely any damage to them. And I mean, Tufts should just be able to pick this one up pretty straightforwardly. I don't imagine that there's a ton UNC can do. Senna's healing up all of this poke. I mean, the Kiwi goat comes through. Doesn't seem like that's going to make too much of a difference. They do end up taking the aggro off, but they should be able to pick this one up pretty straightforwardly. If we've seen the Jarvan do anything else, it does look like there is going to be an attempt to steal. And I mean, Tufts isn't even going to give that the opportunity. I mean, the Jhin goes down to I imagine a Syndra combo, but I mean, this Swain is unkillable now. The Senna doing all the healing that they really need to, and despite the early kill into the Jhin, 2 members left on UNC's side. I don't think that they can really do anything. Jarvan forced to EQ out, and there isn't even going to be a steal attempt this time. Tufts just managed to win the fight and grab the Ocean Dragon, and that's going to be soul point for them. $7,000 gold lead now for Tufts. I mean, in 30 seconds when this Baron spawns, they should just be able to go over to it. Syndra and Kai'Sa just respawning, and it does look like they are actually going to start heading over in that direction. Tufts has a really, really commanding position now, 14 to 26 in the kill score. 5 towers for Tufts. I mean, I think they should try and contest this Scuttle Crab. I'm not entirely sure who got it. This looks like both teams got revealed, but it is going to be the UNC that grabs the Scuttle Crab, which is actually quite big because it means that they can have a lot of confidence to know when Tufts ends up starting this Baron, but they should just be able to get it. When UNC comes over, they can just start the fight, and there's really nothing that UNC can do here. As we do also see the upgrade going through to the Xin Zhao, actually. not the Swain, not the 10, 3, and 8 Swain getting, not actually getting the Masterwork upgrade is pretty interesting there, but they should just be able to melt this. Even though Jhin isn't really the best AD carry for taking these, I mean, it should be relatively straightforward. Yep, I mean, Sinjai just lands a smite, moves on. It does end up going through, managed to kill the Senna. Sinjai dropping very, very low, but, wow, actually, this is looking really, really good for the side of UNC, actually, as they managed to just one-shot the Swain. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, because this Swain should be relatively tanky, but, I mean, Tufts gets 2 Barons in a 3-for-2 fight that looked pretty messy. The Senna just gets caught out of position, gets stunned, gets one-shot by the Syndra. I mean, and this is where we see some of that power coming in. 3.5 items on this Syndra, just, and the Senna is so squishy, is able to just one-shot whoever, whenever a stun lands. Whereas, once again, the zoom in on the Jhin, very powerful Jhin, ends up staying back for that fight, just pressing R, as we actually see a little bit of a pick in the mid lane. The slow means that the Jinx does end up surviving, narrowly dodges the Senna ultimate, and is able to escape with her life, but does have to invest a flash for it. I think the other thing that's interesting that we really have to pay attention to is the Kai'Sa build in this game, because we see the Void Staff, and now they're working towards the Rabadons. And in a game where there's an Enchanter Senna, I really don't think that this poke is going to make any difference. Like, Tufts is, UNC really needs to look for these picks, these early kills. That's how they've been winning the very few fights that they have, is with that Syndra setup, Kai'Sa follow-up, right, is this burst damage. And I don't think that this AP Kai'Sa build really has enough of that, right? It's more focused on that poke, and into a Enchanter Senna, I really don't think that's the correct decision. I would like to see Tufts try and play a little bit more aggressively, because I mean, they're very strong right now. They can pretty much win whatever fight they want. So I think the next time a objective spawns, they can just start it and use it to start an engage. And if they're the ones who are able to find that engage with the Ornn ultimate, then I think that'll favor them quite a bit. Whereas so far it's really just been UNC on the play and Tufts out-walleting them, right? And I'd really like to see a little bit more proactivity from this Tufts lineup. Ooh, if you do actually see the Jarvan ulti get popped in the mid lane, I think it forced the Senna flash once again. Ooh, that is a very big Syndra stun, but does actually end up overcommitting for it. The W does land, so I mean, if the Kai'Sa has the guts to RW in, it might end up earning them a kill, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And the Senna is able to just heal the Jhin right back up, so barrier forced out, heal forced out, but Syndra ends up falling for it, as does Nautilus. I mean, Jarvan looking over the wall for anything, but you can't go in on that Ornn, right? The Ornn is so tanky now, and I really don't know how UNC ends up dealing with them, right? Because that's an enormous Ornn, and so much health, so many resistances, and nobody really deals any damage to them. As the Jarvan tries to look for this deal, just gets one shot over the wall. Well played from the Ornn and the Xin Zhao, as Tufts manages to grab the Ocean Soul. That's going to be really big as well, because, I mean, the poke's already doing no damage, and now it's even harder, especially with, as we see the Swain and the Senna, and there's just so much healing on the side of Tufts. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ornn build a Spirit Visage at this point, right? Like, it's just so difficult for UNC to play this one out. Yeah, I mean, we have this Jhin that's building up towards a Guardian Angel, 3.5 items, very strong. Definitely somebody to keep an eye out for. But I really do think that the biggest threat here is going to be this GA now completed, never mind. But I do think the Swain is going to be a big problem. We did see them invest a little bit of their money towards that Elixir of Iron, so it's going to be a bit delayed onto getting that fourth item, right? Excluding the Magi's, which is now only at 4 pages. In comparison to the 4 items, no Magi's on Syndra's side, so I mean that's honestly a slight advantage for UNC. I think that 0 stack Magi's is going to hurt quite a bit, but I mean overall, Tufts looking really still in a very commanding position, even if UNC has been able to claw back uh some of these later team fights. The 6,000 gold lead still very relevant. Definitely getting less and less relevant as time goes on. But we have to remember the 6,000 gold lead is actually a 10,000 gold lead because we have 4,000 gold worth of 5,000 gold worth of stats being given over by the Ornn, right? So, as I see a brief issue with the stream quality as we are back. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's this is Tufts' game to lose, right? Baron now spawning. We do see Jarvan pushing up, trying to clear out some of that vision, but I mean, they shouldn't be elected. This TP comes in to save the control ward and also just to bring that Ornn in. Syndra should also have the TP if they want to make this a 5v5, but Tufts are just going to start it. And we'll see if UNC does anything to test Syndra TPing in quite far, actually, as Tufts just walks away from the Baron, forcing out the TP. And this is what we wanted to see with the Ornn starting the fight, but doesn't seem like they're able to actually find much with this Call of the Forge God, and that's going to be a big difference maker, right? That Ornn just doesn't have available anymore. And now once again, it's just more posturing. I think it's really important to have this banana bush control, right? To just get that vision, make sure that they know where UNC is. This Gangplank walking up very aggressively, trying to clear this control ward, isn't able to get it. The Swain manages, the ulti goes down to the Swain just gets burst down, and I mean, that's going to be massive. A really good start for the fight for Tufts. And, I mean, the Kai'Sa gets dropped low. If Syndra can get that E, that's going to be a big fight, but no, isn't actually able to find it. And now it's a pretty split 3v3 fight for Tufts. Is able to actually manage to clean up some of these later kills. Senna goes down in exchange for basically everyone but Kai'Sa, and is actually sniped by the Deadly Flourish. Really beautifully played from Tufts. And they're just going to run it down mid to try and get an inhibitor here. And I mean, yeah, I mean the Jhin is doing really beautifully in this fight, in this game now. Able to scale up, get a couple of these kills, get a couple of these defensive items, and now they're really applying a ton of threat. I don't think they're going to be able to push for the end. They might be able to grab an inhibitor tower, but I really would be hesitant to push further for more than this. Because, I mean, the Nautilus respawn is alive. TP in, so I mean, they are just going to go for the end. And I think they might actually get it. Nautilus goes in. There's nothing that Tufts can that UNC can really do, and that's just going to be game 1. Going over in favor of Tufts.
Okay, sorry, we're offline now. Woo! That was insane.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to game two of Tufts versus UNC as we load into the pick and ban. And we see the Hecarim and the Akali ban once again. Those do look like targeted Tufts bans, whereas this time we see the Senna Jhin ban. So both members of the bot lane that we saw from last game being seen as very, very threatening by UNC. So we'll see what Tufts' bot lane ends up picking this game. Um, and as UNC does end up foregoing the Poppy and I believe the Poppy Akshon Thresh that they had last time. We do see Kai'Sa ban from Tufts. I think the Kai'Sa was pretty spooky last game. And also a Veigar ban is very, very interesting because I don't think that's something that we saw them ban or pick last game. So that's really interesting. And we see the first pick Gwen, it does look like. That's something that I think is very, very promising given that what we saw from the top laner of Puff's last game was really able to win out that Ornn versus Gangplank matchup. So we'll see if they can do exhibit a similar level of dominance on this Gwen. And we'll have to see what UNC picks in response to that. It's going to be Jinx, and it's maybe the Thresh, just Jinx Thresh as a pretty solid bot lane 2v2. And a very classic duo. We'll see if that ends up being the decision or who they end up pairing with the strings. They're actually going to pick jungle second. It's been the Diana hover is very, very interesting. Um, Definitely not something that we see very often, and it is going to get locked. Yes, it is going to get locked in. So it is going to be Diana jungle, I imagine, or it could be Diana mid. So a bit of a flex there, but we'll see what Jinx ends up. Poppy looks really, really good here. Yeah, I mean, Poppy can just stop the Diana engage completely. If Diana wants to ER in, Poppy just says no. That's very, very powerful, and the Ashe is definitely a very lane dominant pick for Tufts as well. And we'll see where things end up going because so far Tufts has picked 3 flex picks. The Gwen could be going top. It could also be going jungle. Poppy could be going top jungle or support, and Ashe could be going ADC, and in theory could also go support. So we'll see where these roles end up going. UNC grabs the Sylas. I mean, Sylas into Ashe is really nice because you can grab that arrow and it'll gain an AP scaling that Sylas can use to deal a ton of damage with the stun. And we'll see if they manage to make good use of that in the later games. But we'll see what Tufts ends up picking into the Sylas. We do see the Ornn ban, so I think UNC does believe that the Gwen is going to go jungle. Um, I think that would make a lot of sense, but we will also see what Tufts ends up picking for their other lanes because so far things are a bit up in the air. Okay, tough spanning out the Nautilus. I imagine Thresh will be next. Those make a lot of sense in terms of supports that you don't want Jinx to have access to. Um, Seraphine ban as well. I think that's a mid lane ban, but I'm not entirely sure. It could still be support or even ADC. Ashe Seraphine is definitely a very scary lane, so it could also be a support ban. As once again, I mean, the flex picks just offered so much power in terms of getting these good matchups and just tricking UNC a bit and figuring out where things end up going. Narban makes a lot of sense. Just very solid top lane bruiser. Lux is interesting. Milio makes a lot more sense. Resh makes a lot of sense. Hovering a lot of random different things. And these all look like places that they could go for support. Um, Jinx Melio makes a lot of sense. Get that extra range, get that shielding, that enchanter ability. And also, very importantly, the cleanse is very, very big against that Ashe. So I like Melio here. I think that makes a ton of sense. We'll see what Tufts ends up picking in response. And also seeing where things end up going. Aatrox makes sense to lock top, relatively safe blind. We'll see what UNC ends up going. In theory, you could pick some kind of counter pick like Kled, but I'm not sure if that's something that's in the UNC top laner's wheelhouse. Aatrox is something that'll be really scary once we get to once we get to the later stages of the game. In theory, it could also be Aatrox mid, so but I imagine we will find out for sure when this last pick gets locked in, where everything is going. And it is going to be the Talia. So a lot of anti-dash tech between the Poppy and the Talia. And so it looks like it's probably going to be Ash Poppy bot lane, Aatrox top, Gwen jungle, Talia mid, which makes a lot of sense. And is a relatively well-balanced comp, but it is going to be one that is definitely harder to execute than the one that they played last game. Um, and we'll see what UNC ends up picking up. For their top lane counter pick. It is going to be the Kled. So they are actually going to opt into this counter pick matchup. That's a lot of pressure onto this top laner, who we did not see have the most amazing performance last game. I would definitely hope to see a lot more out of them in this game, especially now that they've been given this counter pick into the Aatrox. And yeah, I mean, we'll see how this ends up going. Between these two comps, I do definitely think that UNC has a very clear game plan. They go forward, they press the Kled button, Diana goes in, and Jinx is just falling behind with move speed and attack range, and I mean everyone just goes forward. It's a pretty straightforward comp, I think, for UNC. As long as they can protect this Jinx, they should be in good shape. But if this Jinx can end up getting picked, then it looks very, very dubious for them. Whereas on Tufts, you have definitely a lot of skirmish power, right? With the Gwen, with the Aatrox, people who are able to really carry team fights on their own, right? And then we have all of this zone control with the Talia and the Poppy, who are just able to say no whenever UNC wants to dash in. And the Ashe just provide that sustained damage. So, I mean, very well-rounded comps for both teams. And I think the impetus will definitely be on UNC to get ahead, I think. I do prefer Tufts in terms of scaling. Once that Gwen gets rolling, once the Aatrox gets rolling, once Ashe has some items, right? I think they do look pretty scary. And but also obviously UNC has the Jinx Milio, right? And that's always going to be a problem, no matter when you are in the game. So definitely interesting draft, and we will see how it ends up playing out in game as we go for another quick break. We'll be right back. Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to Tufts vs UNC Game 2, as we head out onto Summoner's Rift. Once again, no early cheese strats, it does look like. It's going to be relatively straightforward for now. As we do see the pings in chat, it is Kled with a TP and an Ignite, so no flash on the Kled, which is definitely saying something about the way they intend to play this matchup. To be super aggressive, to apply those grievous wounds, and really just look for these 1v1 kills. And we'll see if they can find any of these kills that they were on the recipient of last game. I think also important to note is that Poppy is running Hail of Blades. This is not Aftershock Poppy. This is I'm gonna get ahead into the early game and just straight up murder your ADC Poppy, right? That's the intention. That's what's gonna happen. And I think with the Ashe, that's definitely something that's very doable. So we'll end up seeing if there's going to be any action in the spot lane as well. You also see a bit of a leash coming through to help speed up the Gwen's clear a little bit. But overall, it's just pretty regular start of the game. Incredible farming of minions. Gets all 3 of them. Incredible. As Tufts gets the early priority in the bottom lane. Should be able to hit level 2 first, as once again it's just Aatrox and Kled trading on the top side. I think that's definitely something we'll have to pay attention to this game. Tufts does get the level 2 first, so UNC does have to back away a bit. But yeah, I think this top side is going to be a really big factor because this Kled was given this counter pick right into the Aatrox with the built-in grievous wounds, and we really didn't see a lot from them last game. And now that they've been given these resources, right, I would hope that the jungler is going to play towards them, even though they're clearing away right now, to just try and make this pick work. And so far, it is looking good, as that is a very, very favorable trade. And as we also see the empowered auto attack healing getting reduced by the grievous wounds. So that's the theory of this matchup, and so far it's looking good. Does take 2 tower shots, gets dismounted. As I say that, a bit of a caster curse. But hopefully should still be able to play this one out relatively cleanly. That's very brutal. We do see Aatrox Mystic Cannon. That's the moment as a League of Legends player you tell your team to FF. And now we have to watch their farming very, very carefully. Make sure they don't miss anymore. Grabs that one. Using the abilities on the wave now. Misses a caster minion. Misses 2 caster minions. Brutal. Now they're down 4 whole CS. That's gonna be a big difference maker maybe. As Kled actually ends up TPing back to lane already. So it's a really early TP. And we'll see if the Aatrox is going to do the same. Tufts Kled comes back with a refillable potion and a longsword, and Aatrox is going to TP back about the same. Fight over the Scuttle Crab, it does go over to the side of Diana. Just a bit of trading. Kled is walking down, so I mean this is definitely going to favor Tufts in the long term. Flashes over, gets first blood, right? The blast cone isn't quite enough to save the play. Whoa, that's very, very aggressive. The Sylas flashing forward under tower with no minions and just dies. That's definitely not what you want to see from your mid laner. And I mean, we saw how much of a menace that Swain was in the last game. You definitely don't want to get this mid laner ahead. Ooh, really, really good pin. I mean, that might just be a kill into the Milio as well. I mean, it should be. Yep, the Poppy picks it up. A bit troll, should have maybe handed that kill over to the ADC, but still very, very much in favor of Tufts. Grab the kill. And I mean, this bot lane is already ahead and is only going to look better from here with the additional kills. And once again, another advantage in this mid lane as the Sylas gets dropped very, very low after coming back from the death. So I mean, look good for Tufts so far. there is this wave that is going to be crashing into the Kled's tower, so Kled should be able to pick up a big wave here and get a little bit of a CS advantage. So the counterpick matchup is going the way that we would expect. And there's also a bit of a CS advantage in the jungle, especially with that kill. So that's giving the UNC jungler a bit of an advantage as well. But aside from that, 400 gold in the mid lane, 200 gold in the bot lane. Overall, looking quite good for Tufts, right? It's really what you would hope to see. Yeah, I mean, and you can see even in the top lane, right? It's Caulfield's Warhammer to 2 longswords, which it will always be better for the Caulfields. But we do also see the refillable potion on the side of the Kled. So despite the Aatrox being down quite a bit of CS, does end up picking up the kill. So that's definitely something that you enjoy if you are Tufts. I do actually think I missed when that happened, but Aatrox is 1-0 up. And I mean, I don't really imagine Tufts should be able to, or UNC should be able to contest this draft very much. As I say that though, the Diana actually just dives in, kills the Gwen outright, and this exhaust is doing a lot of, is really making a big difference when it comes to stopping this Ashe from dealing any damage, and UNC actually takes the Drake and takes 2 kills. Once again, Tufts, just trading a bit, is a bit behind now, about 700 gold, which is, all things considered, not the biggest lead, but definitely a better start to this early game than they did see last game. This Kled coming very close to the remount, should be able to grab it here, and that would give them a pretty considerable health advantage once that remount comes up. Aatrox does manage to pick up the cannon this time, very, very important. As the Kled gets the remount with the level 6 is going to be pretty scary, but I don't imagine dive or anything like that will be coming through. As I say that, Kled does look to dive, does manage to immune the Aatrox, and I mean, it's just going to be a 1-for-1 under the tower, and that's always going to favor the Aatrox, favor the Kled, I mean. Because the wave crashes in, and now on the bounce back, it's going to push back out towards the Kled, so even though it is a 1-for-1, the jungler's the one that picks up the kill, and the Kled ends up getting even further ahead in this matchup, right? We do see relatively similar items, so I don't imagine anything too extreme in terms of item differential, but still, that's definitely what you want to see for UNC. Especially as Diana starts grabbing these Void Grubs as well. So far, objectives pretty heavily in favor of UNC. We'll see if Tufts wants to contest this at all. But it looks like at least 2 of them are going to go over. Gwen comes over for the 3rd one, maybe. And is going to actually do a little bit of contest. Does manage to steal it away. Now popping the needlework to try and win that fight, but it doesn't actually look like it's going to happen. The Unraveled Earth not able to stop any dashes, as I mean, the Gwen just loses the 1v1. I mean, so far this Gwen has been struggling quite a bit right into this Diana matchup. Diana just winning out in the 1v1 trades. I think Gwen definitely needs more items before she really becomes a big threat, right? Really looking at that Riftmaker and Asher's Tooth Spike is going to be what you're waiting for Gwen, whereas Diana right now is just brawling and is winning it. So we also see 2 fights happening, a dive happening in the top lane. Diana does end up going down for the 1-for-1, but Silas also trying to gank this bot lane as we see the Ashe just ends up going down. Gwen now here, but I don't imagine Gwen can actually do very much about here, and it's a double kill going over to the Silas. Definitely a really big injection of cash that they really needed, because that Silas was struggling in the mid lane matchup. But now comes bot, is able to pick up 2 kills, and UNC is in a really good spot now.
Take this.
Ooh, and we also do see the Kled ulting away defensively, which is a big cooldown, and but they are also a little bit behind on tempo because the Aatrox is already TP'd back with the Eclipse, and the Kled is TP'ing back now with the Eclipse and an extra Doran's Blade, so should be a slight favor gold-wise over to the Kled, but overall not a huge lead. I mean, so far things looking very, very good for UNC, right? The lanes that they want to get ahead are ahead, ooh, as I say that, trade going over, and this might actually be a kill going over to the Aatrox. Not quite. The Kled is able to just barely get the remount, gets the dismount, flashes forward for the auto attack, and picks up the kill onto the Kled. Really, really brilliantly done from the Aatrox, and that's going to be a big kill, big advantage going over to Tufts. But the rocket flying through, not quite able to land. I think just barely manages to dodge it. Diana is here though, so I mean, I don't know that there's much the Aatrox can do. Maybe just grabs the plate before he dies. That is exactly what's going to happen. This Diana snowballing further and further ahead, as that Ash arrow doesn't quite land onto the Diana, and also Aatrox is long dead. So it's a 1-for-1 in the end, but once again, definitely favors Aatrox because Kled loses a big wave there. As we actually see a really weird position here, as the Silas is chasing onto this Taliyah, should actually be able to pick up the kill. But as I say that, Taliyah pops the ulti, and just able to surf away to safety. Ultimate invested, but does manage to get out alive. That's a really, really big difference. As once again, just more trading on the bot lane. Coffee just really positioning very aggressively, looking for the angle to get the pin, but not able to find anything just yet. UNC grabbing the second Drake. I don't imagine there's going to be a contest. It doesn't really look like there will be. Especially because this bot lane has so much prio, and yep, UNC is able to just grab it. And I mean, that's actually really big because this Jinx is still excited from killing the dragon. So I mean, that's going to be a big difference maker. And the Ashe just goes down, 1v1 killed by the Diana. And also the Kled is now coming over. Jinx is excited once again. Can Gwen at least pick up 1 kill in return? Does manage to grab 1 kill, but I mean, that's a really, really big fight win and objective in favor of UNC. So about 1,000 gold, 1,500 gold in UNC's advantage. The Taliyah was able to push up to that mid lane, grab, you know, a little bit more damage onto the tower, which I think is really big, but I mean, that's a big fight for UNC. Is able to grab just 1 more plate here. Yep, just barely grabs it. So I mean, that's a pretty big one. Ashe arrow goes wide, doesn't actually manage to find the Jinx, as she recalls with 3-0 and 2 now. Should be able to pick up the Kraken Slayer. That's going to be a big buy. Silas now with the Hextech Rocket Belt finished as well. Taliyah still waiting to stack up that Seraph's Embrace, so that'll be something to look for. We do see Diana going back towards these Void Grubs. Just Grabs 3 needs 1 more to start spawning those Void Mites. Isn't going to actually be able to hit 6 this game, and doesn't actually manage to get them in time before they despawn. So no Void Mites are going to be spawning this game. 3 Void Grubs to 1 in favor of UNC, but no Void Mites this game. That is pretty unfortunate for Diana, spending a bunch of time trying to farm those Void Grubs. Isn't actually able to grab the buff from it. Did not press tab fast enough, I suppose. But we do see a small lane swap. We see the Silas going over towards this top side, just so that Kled could have the opportunity to roam, but now they do start this Rift Herald with the Melio top side as well, so it doesn't look like Tufts wants to contest. It looks like they maybe want to try and find a play towards the bottom side. Might just be going towards that Rift Scuttler as well, so I'm not entirely sure if something is going to happen, but it does look like Gwen is positioning for a dive. Bit of a weird interaction there with a knock away and the Silas E coming right back. But yeah, I mean, Jinx is standing so far away, does not want to even risk the dive there, so should manage to get away unscathed. But Tufts might be able to find the tower here. As Jinx walking back forward a bit, but not quite going to get in range of the Gwen. So it's the Rift Herald being traded over for nothing in favor of Tufts. Just a little bit of pressure onto the spot side as UNC starts scoring their advantage even further.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
Yeah, Jinx now able to find that kill. The Asher is still not landing. Jinx is still excited, but with the needlework, she should just be able. She just should just go down there, and she does. When able to pick up the kill. Riftmaker now complete is pretty big. Probably working on that Nasher's second item, which is also going to be pretty instrumental. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. And as this Jinx is, Clyde TPing the top lane just to defend the tower. Isn't going to get interrupted or anything like that, so yeah. I mean, I think what we really do need to look out for is these Ash arrows. So far they have not been landing, but they can definitely be very, very impactful when they do. The Ashe is relatively strong, does have both ADCs have the Kraken Slayer complete, both probably working towards that Runon's Hurricane second item, as we see a bit of skirmish in top lane. So far in favor of Aatrox. Aatrox starting to win out this matchup once again. Ignite used, but as the Diana comes, Aatrox is forced to run away. Is able to actually just straight up gets the solo kill. A massive outplay for the Aatrox, and should actually just be able to kill the Diana if she gets dragged back, and she does. I mean, I think Aatrox wins this fight, right? Forces the flash away, and I mean, just a really beautiful play from the Aatrox. Manages to bait the Clyde into running under tower, and then just straight up wins the 1v1, and is able to chase down Diana, so... yeah, I mean, really beautifully played from Aatrox as they head towards their second item. Gwen now working on grabbing this Mountain Dragon. Silas is looking to contest, but so far doesn't seem like there's going to be anything happening. Rocket goes in, Poppy ulti goes out as well, sends the Diana far away, so it should just be a dragon going over to Tufts. They shouldn't be able to steal this or anything, is not going to happen, and Tufts just leaves. Poppy ulti invested, and no other downside for Tufts, as we actually see a Kled engage now on this top side. Aatrox is forced to run very, very low. Kled definitely winning the health advantage, but I mean, Aatrox does have all of that healing, right? Even reduced. But now that Silas is here, it's going to be very, very difficult. Ashe ulti goes wide once again. That W, the Infernal Chain's not quite going in the correct direction, and the Aatrox does end up finally falling. I mean, but now that the Silas is on that top side, that should give the Talia a good opportunity. The Diana goes in very aggressively, flashing forward on the Poppy. That's actually managed to pick up the Diana. Really, really well played from Poppy. Like, saw the opportunity and just took it, right? Like, really, really well played. But now Jinx is excited. Should just be able to get the kill on the Poppy here. Ashe, just barely doesn't get it. And Ashe is able to disengage. So, I mean, it's a kill on the Poppy for nothing for the mid tower. And bot lane, Talia actually ends up getting the tower as well. The wall forcing 2 flashes actually from both bot laners. Exhaust popped, but should not be any kills going over towards either side. I mean, just really well played, really well, excellent sequence events in favor of Tufts. Yeah, I mean, so far this counter pick is no longer working out as well as we had hoped it would. The Aatrox is 600 gold ahead, and even the differences in the other lanes are not massive. 600 gold for the Jinx, which is going to be very relevant, of course, but I mean, that difference is closed a bit by the gold gap. As I say that there's a big fight going. Gwen just barely able to survive. Does end up dying to the bear drop on rope, but now Aatrox fighting this Kled, and I really think this Aatrox wins. Isn't quite able to land the sweet spot, but I mean, Kled is here. Asher goes wide again. We've seen that story quite a few times now. But now that Poppy is here with that Dead Man's Plate, I mean, there's nowhere for Kled to run. Ooh, actually, they're not even going to look for the fight. Poppy's still running in a straight line at the Silas, but didn't actually end up getting anything. So it's just going to be the Gwen kill going over. Aatrox on the run now with Emilio on the way as well. So, I mean, ooh, actually, excellent Keeper's Verdict, knocking the Silas away. That's a really big fight. And wow, really well played by the Aatrox. Is able to pick up the Kled in the fight. A big outplay to dodge some of that Kled damage and survive while picking up the kill. So I mean, really well played from Tufts. Keeper Verdict knocks the Silas away, and after that, there's not much damage outside of the Kled, who the Aatrox just beats in a 1v1. Nice flick back from the Talia, should be able to just survive, head out. Doesn't look like there's going to be too much of that. Silas is coming down, but Talia does have that rock surfing passive, so as long as she stays close to the wall, and now with this, ooh, really, really well played from the Silas, and does get the Q to actually finish off the kill. The interrupt with the E as the glide goes through, really well played from the Silas to interrupt that Talia ulti.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
It's just a bit of posturing around the Baron. I don't imagine there's going to be a real fight towards the Baron just yet. Not without a pick at the very least. As we do see people starting to build up more of their items. We see the Dark Seal again coming out for the Talia. Definitely a favorite of this mid laner. Didn't quite work out last game. As we actually see a bit of an engage going over. The Diana is here, but I mean, this Aatrox is really, really strong. Might just be able to pick up the kill into the Kled. Doesn't quite manage to get it. The Kled just barely remounts as the 3v1 is just not quite, is just too much for this Aatrox to handle. And that might just be Tufts, not Tufts, UNC heading over towards that Baron, and it is. They're just going to start it. With this Jinx, they definitely shred through this Baron really, really fast. So Tufts doesn't have some kind of good engage here. Does manage to grab the stun onto the Silas. A bit of a dash flashes out. Asher now pop. But I mean, this Jinx is so strong, and Tufts, wow, that's a lot of healing for the Gwen, but not quite able to pick up any of these kills just yet. Talia versus Gwen against the world. The health bar is very, very low on the side of UNC. And I think they are just going to regroup. Tufts manages to stop the Baron, but wow, ooh, another engage onto this Talia. Wow, Silas dashes into the rocks, stuns himself, and just straight up goes down. Talia and Gwen should be able to clean the kill on the Kled as well. And that's just a really big mistake from Silas. Diana now forced to flash out as this Aatrox TP's back in. Goes back in, picks up the kill on the Talia, but trades her life in the process. And now that means that Tufts can just grab this Mountain Drake, and that's going to be a big part in stacking towards that soul, because that soul is going to be a very, very big difference maker. With 3 dead on the side of UNC, Tufts should just be able to pick up the second dragon with no contest. They do manage to grab it. No miracle throw or anything with the Phoenix Rocket. As it's just back to farming for now. The only objective left up is this Baron, which I don't think either team will be able to start once again without some kind of pick. But I mean, so far, even though this Aatrox has died 5 times, I think is definitely very, very strong and is someone to keep a big eye out for. I think if you look at the items, it's not super impressive, but I mean, if you've just been seeing what this Aatrox has been able to do in these fights, I definitely favor him over the Kled so far. Once again, another engaged top lane. Kled does go charging in, manages to grab the Aatrox, but it's just Kled and Emilio so far, and Poppy is here. The Kled goes flying as we go tracking that across, and the Diana ends up going down. Aatrox just barely survives. Now this Emilio's in danger as well. Emilio dies too. Double kill for the Gwen, and I mean, what looked like a good engage for UNC turned out to go very, very strongly in favor of Tufts. Now they're able to be the ones starting Baron. And without a jungler, without any kind of front line, just this Jinx and Kled on the top side, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything. Yep, Bear Trap on the rope is not going to steal it. And actually, as we see this on the bot lane, there's actually just straight up a solo kill from on the Talia against the Sylas. I mean, so far this melee matchup has been going very, very strongly in favor of Talia. Sylas has just been able to pick up kills in these team fights. So in the 1v1, Talia has been looking very, very strong as well. Kled also missing the cannon, very tragic.
Go on, get!
Ooh, actually an incredible trade. Emilio just barely survives. I was a bit curious if the Asura there would have been enough to finish off, but probably just did want to overcommit to the Emilio kill. But I mean, a really good trade from this Poppy, and you can really see this threat that this Poppy provides, right? Just their ability to threaten these solo kills, especially onto a squishy member like Emilio. But I mean, the Diana going in onto the Talia, the Seraph is not enough to save her, and Talia just goes down, invests the flash too, so that's going to be pretty big. As we see the Asher also once again go wide. I mean, with this top lane pushed in like this, with the two empowered Baron, empowered Cannon minions, this top lane inner should just go down. And that's going to be another injection of gold, 700 more gold into this Aatrox. And I mean, that's going to be very, very scary when the time comes. Mid lane inner also goes down, and I mean, Tufts is just in a very commanding position now. 4,000 gold ahead, right? A lot of this is on the jungle, who is about 1,000 gold ahead, right? I mean, 3,000 for the top lane. This Aatrox is going to be super, super strong. UNC's bot lane is a bit ahead. This Jinx is very, very scary, but as long as Tufts can get on her, there's not a lot that UNC can do. And now we gather for this mountain dragon, just setting up vision for the dragon that's spawning in about 50 seconds now. I think if we look at the items, it is very important to see that Gwen has a Seeker's Arm Guard and thus has not finished her Rabadons yet. And so that's actually going to be a big item spike that's missing. Whereas on the other hand, we do see another Asher going forward. Does finally land. Doesn't seem like it really was necessary, but that isn't an Asher that we finally see land this game, as the Aatrox picks up the kill on the Diana in the top lane. And that should just be Mountain Dragon going over towards Tufts and that sole point. And 4 dragons on this Aatrox is definitely something to be very, very scared of. Like, amplifying these resistances, right? Making this Aatrox even more tanky is definitely something you do not want to see. Because, I mean, there's already no one who can answer this Aatrox in the side lane, and now it is even more true. As we see a couple members congregating up, but it doesn't look like that is going to net anything for UNC as they just regroup and keep farming out these waves as Tufts grabs the Mountain Dragon. Here we do see 3 items starting to get picked up by a lot of the members. Both junglers now on 3.5 items. Top laner is on 3 items and some, right? I think interestingly enough, this Kled still hasn't finished their boots. I think having shoes, upgraded shoes, is pretty important. and I would love to see them finish some of those shoes soon. As we do see the Diana go onto this Poppy, but with that move speed from the Dead Man's Plate, and the W isn't quite going to be able to continue pushing. Just a bit more skirmishing, Gwen applying a bit more pressure. That ulti does a lot of damage, as, I mean, Tufts is just dominating this fight. Clyde's not there, Jinx isn't there, Sylas isn't there. I mean, there's really nothing that UNC can do without their members, right? And so Tufts just wins a very dominant fight, taking out Melio and Diana. I mean, the consolation for UNC is that there's nothing on the map right now. Baron doesn't spawn for another 30 seconds, 3 minutes until the next dragon. But they should just be able to siege onto this top lane, mid lane inhibitor tower. Sylas does grab that Ashe ulti, but I mean, it's really hard for him to find anything with it. As we do see more 1v1s happening in this bot lane. As we see the stolen Ashe ulti also go wide, so Ashe arrows have not been landing this game on either side, as there's no kills going over. And on this spawn, we do see Tufts just heading straight towards this Baron. There's TPs on both top laners, so if Clyde wants to, he can TP into this, but I mean, the Baron's already gone. Ashe arrow flies true. The Poppy just straight up solo kills the Melio with the help of the Ashe arrow. And I mean, it's just a clean Baron and one pick for the side of Tufts. And especially with this mid lane inhibitor cracked open, it'll be very easy for Tufts to just start applying a ton of pressure on these side lanes, apply a lot of pressure towards cracking these last two inhibitors, and really just taking a dominant position in this game, right? Once again, almost 7,000 gold ahead, right? It's really everything you would want, as the Sylas is maybe getting caught in the side lane, and this Poppy is 1v1ing the Kled. That's definitely not what you would normally see as of a support Poppy, but I mean, that kind of goes to show how far ahead Tufts is this game, right? Poppy just brawling with the Kled and coming out on top. You see the Gwen under a bit of pressure on this top lane, but fortunately for Gwen is immune, so Gwen is able to just head on out of there with no issues. Ooh. The free flash of a loading screen. And we do see Tufts sieging onto these top and bot lane inhibitor towers, right? With these Baron and powered waves, it's very good. Wow, and the Sylas just gets shredded, like snipped to pieces with that Gwen Q. Gwen does end up getting shut down, but I mean, I don't think they can really do much here. I mean, they do manage to grab the kill onto the Talia, and it's a bit of a split fight actually, as Clyde ends up going down. Diana's still alive, Melio is hanging on by a thread, does end up finally going down, and even the fight is Tufts favored, it was a bit messy. Definitely not as clean as you would have hoped, but this should be the end of the game. I'm not sure that Diana and Jinx can do anything to stop Tufts from simply pushing down the Nexus towers now. 2 waves coming in, 3 waves actually, as Tufts grab this last inhibitor, right? Just crossing their I's and dotting their T's before they put a lid on this game. With 3 inhibitors down, it's going to be very hard for UNC to contest anything now that they have these double super minion waves coming in, as this 4th dragon is spawning, right? As this final mountain dragon for a 4 mountain dragon soul. Is definitely something that's going to be very scary. Jinx Rocket flies out, connects onto the Aatrox, is not going to be very relevant at all. And this is, I think, where UNC are going to have to make their last stand, right? Sylas TPing in, but as I say that, Diana just gets burst out, picked by the Poppy, Ashe arrow connects, and I mean, what do they do now? There's not a lot that they can really do. Stolen Keeper's Verdict knocks Aatrox away, but I really don't think that UNC can win this fight regardless, right? Ashe dealing tons and tons of damage, is able to pump out these Krakenslayer autos, and I mean, Ashe is completely untouched in this backline, able to pick up pretty much all of these kills, and these TPs go into the mid lane as Tufts cleans up the second game in this best of 3. Just a very, very dominant performance from Tufts. This should just be the end of the game. 40-second death timers on everybody as Tufts manages to grab a series win. All right, thank you everyone for watching. A very, very dominant performance from Tufts, and we'll see you next time.